Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out this new build I just put together. This is the BRDM Nemesis-X. Had the frame for a little while. I did a frame review a few weeks back and finally got the parts for this and put this together. Let me just go over all the parts first. The part that I think that most people are going to want to get is the HGLRC Zeus F4 all-in-one board. Because otherwise you'll have to go with ESCs on the arms, which will make the build a little bit more complicated. Using this all-in-one board, which puts the basically a 4-in-1 ESC plus a flight controller all-in-one in a single board here, it allows you to fit the video transmitter and other parts and this sort of lowrider stack. It's very limited space here. That's because this is a top-mounted battery frame, and so going with the Zeus F4 is highly recommended. You can obviously go with the other 20 by 20 stack and put ESCs on the arms, but I recommend going this route. Okay, so the motors I'm using are the BBB 1105 6000 kV, and I'm using the GemFan 2540 props. This is a 2.5-inch frame. It's meant for 2.5-inch props. Pretty nice setup here. Obviously, you can probably go with an 1106 6000 kV or something in that range, maybe up to a 7500 kV. I found that this motor was a pretty good compromise of weight and power. Very good power on 3S. On the 6000 kV. You can obviously get more top end on a 7500 kV, but I think that will also kill your battery faster as well. Got pretty good flight times on this. I was using a 553S, and I was getting around about 4 minutes of flight. Pretty decent on this setup. Very light setup as well. Only weighs about 75 grams, as you see here. Using the Foxeer micro repeater as the FPV camera, but you can pretty much use any 19 by 19 form factor FPV camera. They're all in the same sort of weight range, about 5 grams. And like a Run Count Swift or a Foxeer Micro Aero, etc. Those all fit in this little pod right here. Now the video transmitter that I'm using is the HGLRC TX20, so it goes very well with the HGLRC Zeus F4, and this is the version 2 of the TX20, so I have smart audio enabled in this one. Now, I did put a small micro receiver here in the back, and there's not a lot of places to put that. I suppose you could put a receiver behind the camera here, and then have some place back here for the antenna. I would recommend that they change the frame here and put some, maybe extend the carbon top plate back here a little bit, and then put some cutouts here for zip ties to have the antennas come up. I just zip tied my stuff to the standoffs here, and I would rather have my antennas up at a 45-degree angle back instead of straight back like this. Get a little bit worse reception here between the motors versus up over here on in the back and up at a 45-degree angle. So when you're tilted over, the antenna is actually kind of almost straight up, whereas right here it's at about a 45-degree angle. Receiver antenna is not as much of a big deal. You can see I just heat shrunk the antenna to the zip tie, and the receiver is just loose here. Yeah, I didn't really. I think I probably would have used a different receiver with a longer antenna, and maybe put the receiver behind the camera, like say like a FreeSky XM Plus, and then you could put 2 places back here for your antenna. I just happen to use this little Micro RX 2A Pro as a FlySky receiver, and it fits back here okay. But there's not much room here, so you got to do a little bit of planning on where you want to put your devices. The other thing that was kind of confusing for me is what to do with the XT30 connector. On the Zeus F4, the power connector is on the back here, so I just have it up here and then zip tied to the standoff, and you want to make sure you keep it out of the prop here. The prop is very close to that, and you want to keep that on the inside. So I zip tied that down. I would recommend going with a little bit longer connector here. Otherwise, you'll have issues. If your battery does have a short connector, then it's going to be hard to connect your battery. So I should have made this little connector a little bit longer, maybe another couple centimeters, just to give a little room on the connector to connect the battery. But at the same time, you don't want it to be too long or flopping around and getting in the way of the props and getting your connector cut by the props. So I did flash the latest Betaflight 3.2.5 on the board, and I also updated the firmware and the ESCs to 16.7, so everything is up to date on all the in terms of the software. I'll go ahead and I'll put my PIDs up on the screen if you guys want to copy that. I think this flies pretty well. I can't tell too much difference between a top-mounted battery and a bottom-mounted battery on a 2.5-inch micro doing 3S. On the turns, like when you cut corners really quick, it does seem to turn a little bit easier. You don't have to manage the throttle as much as on a bottom-mounted battery, whereas usually when you're in a turn on with the battery behind you, you get dragged by the battery because it's got most of the weight, and you have to pump the throttle a little bit to make that turn a little bit easier. So with the battery on top, I think that the CG is different so that it doesn't require as much power to make the quad go into the turn and carry it through the turn. That's pretty much the only difference. It's mostly in the turns. Otherwise, the weight distribution doesn't, in terms of flips and rolls, I can't really tell the difference. It just seems the same to me. There are not a lot of top-mounted battery frames out there that I'm aware of. This is one of the very few that are out there, and I can't say much in terms of like, well, this flies better than, say, the Hornet or the Mini Fight. I think they all fly pretty well, and they all have pretty good power. Obviously, I'm using a little bit smaller motor in this one, and it's a little bit lighter. So I would say that it feels like it has the same amount of power as the one with the bigger motor. It's a little bit heavier. So I think if you go from 1105 to 1106, you gain more weight, but then you also gain more power. So maybe it's canceling each other out. So if you want to go a little lighter, I would say go with 1105 6000 kV versus 1106 6000 kV. Plus, I really like these BBB motors anyway. They're very solid motors, and they perform really well. Anyways, I'll go ahead and I'll run the flight demo now. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.